Is it true that men are afraid to show their feelings to women, especially their spouse or their hopefully future spouse? And if so, that we as women are supposed to make them feel at ease and comfortable? Well, that was the topic of a discussion led by Zan the Man. And well, unfortunately, we do not have enough men yet in the panel, but he said he had been talking to a lot of guys, and especially when they start dating, they are afraid to expose their thoughts and their feelings to women because they're afraid to be burned down. At least that's what I got to understand was their reason. Well, I wasn't the only one in the panel. There were a few other women out there. Like me, they got a little bit annoyed, furious, like, what? Do we need to be responsible for men feeling safe in a relationship? So I basically said, back in the days, it was the guy who was in control. He was working, he was in charge of the money because he earned it, and hence he had power in a relationship. I mean, back in the day, it was normal that when you got married as a woman, that you stopped working because you had to take care of your man. There are actual books about it, how to take care of your man, make sure that he's comfortable, that he is really happy. You don't annoy him. You take care of all his wishes. It's well, let's put it this way, I'm not the kind of girl or woman to ever do anything that book says. It's basically, well, I get why they say it, because it has to do with making sure that the guy, the man is capable of doing his job the way it should be done. But it's, well, it basically gives all the power to the man in the relationship. And of course, nowadays we still see that some out there do not appreciate it when women go to school, get education, know what's going on in the world, and love a good discussion. So getting back at the question, do we as women need to make sure that men feel safe? Well, I guess that it's something we both have to do. It's not like women do not feel insecure around guys. I mean, I don't believe that it really matters whether you're a man or a woman when it comes to feeling secure. I don't believe that everyone immediately wants to tell about what really goes on in their mind and expose their deepest, darkest secrets. I mean, it's all about communication and about having your relationship grow, which comes with time. And the only way to get that done is to feel safe, which means that you are being respected. And vice versa, that you also show the respect to the other person. So, do women react differently? Do they pick up on signals differently compared to men? Yes, absolutely. We can read and respond to the subtle signals, and which basically are very obvious for us most of the time. And well, that is part of why Zan said that we needed to be the one explaining, like, okay, this is going on. But actually I am teaching the women, but also the men, that I'm teaching women that they need to be very specific in order to be heard by the men, because we try to give those subtle signals and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. I mean, we are wired differently than men are. So, and on the other hand, it's good to make men aware that women are actually saying things and doing things that they don't have a clue is happening. So take, for instance, that men think they have all the power now because they earn the money and they are the men in the house, so everyone listens to them. But, and especially taking into consideration the past generations, women know how to get around and do things without really saying them in order to maintain some freedom, and but most of all to make sure things run smoothly in the household, especially when it comes to their children. And sometimes, well, let's call it being creative and inventive. And I've seen a lot of that when I was growing up. So when one of my clients said, I'm the man in the house, I said, well, watch me, or watch your lady, because I'm going to tell you that your wife is the one running the house, but you don't know it just yet. And turns out I am right. So at some point there was the thing when it comes to communication and being taken seriously. So the thing is that when people do not feel like they can be seen as equal partners, or when one wants to be the dominant one, but the other one doesn't want to accept the other role, being the servant, then they might say yes, but do no. It's actually happening in a lot of countries that people nod and say yes, and that you think, oh yes, it's going to happen. And then, you know, the minute you turn your back, I'm not going to say you getting stabbed in the back, although that could be possible. But, you know, you get what I'm trying to get across. And that's basically because they don't accept the role that you've obtained, the role of being the one in charge. So when it comes to us women having to make the men feel safe, I think it should be something which comes from both sides. You know, when we get in a relationship, in a new relationship, it's so important that we dare to share, that we get encouraged to share, that we get respected and feel respected. And when we do not feel respected, that's basically when we do not feel safe. And so when you have the feeling that you're not taken seriously, that you may be laughed at, well, the first thing I would say is run. You know, don't continue on with this relationship, because if someone doesn't take you seriously from the get-go, then what can you expect in the future when things aren't special anymore and things become harder and harder? The goal is to be curious what the other one does, start to try to understand one another, what they are about, what makes them tick. And well, you may not have to understand everything they do, but it would be nice to some degree have an appreciation for what they do. or at least have an understanding and being able to follow them when they talk about it. But more importantly, it's about sharing time together, being there for the other one, really listening, responding by saying in your own words what the other one has said so they know they are heard, acting on it, and not like, okay, that was nice to hear, I've said what you wanted to hear, and then leave it off and then nothing happens. But really build on that relationship, which starts, I believe, by not necessarily needing another person, so not being the needy one, but being okay with yourself. And then when someone else is there, you can start building together to become, there's something called synergy. They say 1 + 1 is 3 instead of 2. And that's what happens when you get to encounter the better half, which then actually is the better half. So I guess that's something to think about. What would you do in a relationship? What are you doing in your relationship? Are you listening to the other one? Do you know what makes your other half tick? Are you willing to invest by listening? And yes, I know this is a time that we swipe and absorb things in a really quick pace, just cowering, is this interesting or not? And yes, that means that we have to take a step back when it comes to relationships and listening to friends and family. Are you willing to do so? Give the precious time we have in these busy times to other people, to build a relationship, to learn from it, and to grow together. Because I believe that's what eventually leads to safety and to opening up, respecting one another, listening to one another, growing one another. Let me know what you think about it.